Hey guys, Matt Lachlan here with Coeur Real Producers. I'm excited to do this Facebook Live interview with Art Macomber at Macomber Law. We're going to be interviewing Art about a service that he licensed. He's a licensee of with Timely Contract, and it has its relevance is huge to real estate agents and their clients in terms of avoiding huge pitfalls and closing transactions, avoiding disaster, that sort of thing. I'm not an agent, I don't even have the proper legal terms, and we're going to ask him all about it here in a second and get a sense why top agents are paying attention to this kind of service and the value it can bring to their client base. So first, let me just introduce Art. Art, why don't you start with who are you, what's your practice like, and then we'll dive into why you use Timely Contract.
Thanks, Matt. My name's Art Macomber. I am a real property attorney. We handle clients in Washington, Idaho, and Montana. And we handle mostly the little guy. We've found a lot of small, medium-sized landowners, people that buy property, people that sell. And sometimes they get into trouble. And over the years, I've been looking for a solution. How do we keep people out of trouble? And so we ran into this, the Timely Contract Services bunch. There's a few services that really allow us to keep the clients out of trouble before they get in. In the law, you quickly determine there are avoidable problems and there are unavoidable problems. We would rather help people with the unavoidable. The Timely Contract solution takes the avoidable off the table. In a majority of cases, it's really fantastic. And so we're very pleased to be a licensee to Timely Contract, and we've seen how it helps out clients a lot.
And so in the context of a real estate agent who has a client looking at a property, let's say, there's certain things where they can have if you could describe how it works, they could have the property or the information reviewed at a 50,000 foot level to determine whether they need a deeper review, or how would you describe the actual service?
I was a real estate agent a couple of decades ago. So when I got into law, I chose real property. And there's a frequent danger where people say, oh, I don't want to get an attorney involved. What they don't realize is that if you bring value to the equation, you can actually close more escrows and get things sold and have happier clients. So when we found the Timely Contract group of services, I needed to make sure that it could be fast, it could be easy, and it could also meet my bar licensing requirements in all my jurisdictions. And we found out after I did my due diligence, I realized this actually works. And Matt, it's crazy simple. Okay, we're talking about a shopping cart here. You go online to the timelycontract.com. You pick the service you want. You pay for it. The fee agreement's on there. You upload your documents. You can get we've been able to call folks the next business day. And we can review the documents in the public record. We can, with the help of an agent, it's fantastic. So here's a question. So if I think the preconception might be as an agent, like, well, I don't want to get a legal review, because your typical agent might be thinking of just how expensive it is when there is a problem with the transaction. And this is very inexpensive on the front end. This is an inexpensive way to review the documents and basically get a green light, a yellow light, if you could describe. Like, what's the output on the other end? If this has gone through a Timely Contract review, what do the clients get to see? We always put our opinions in writing. And so first of all, if you have a contract that you want us to review, we can do that. Sometimes the contract language gets tricky. If you want to just know what's down at the recorder's office that affects your purchase or your sale. Say I'm a seller and I say, well, this has been in the family for decades. I don't have any idea what's down there. And you need to present to buyers what's in the public record. I mean, frankly, if you're moving and you're cleaning out closets and you're loading up the truck and you don't have time to look at your preliminary title report and say, what do all these documents mean? You don't have time. But the problem is, if you don't take the time, if you if you don't hire, and if you don't use the timely contract services, 6 or 8 months go by and you'll find out.
Yeah, so how about let's bring it home with a concrete story or example. There's easements, water rights, all these things that could be attached to a property that people discover after the transactions close, and it's incredibly expensive to get these things sorted out and resolved. So, like, give us an example of a typical situation in North Idaho, like the kind of properties we have here.
Well, with the green light system, we'll give a buyer or a seller a red light, yellow light, green light evaluation, and we actually break it down to that point, and we identify precisely why we give that assignment. And a typical yellow light might be a blanket easement for a farmer. Say you're down in Worley, or maybe you're over by Wenatchee, and you run a hay operation, you want to sell it. Mm-hmm. It turns out the utility who services the area has a blanket easement over your whole parcel. It's not just to put the lines in that place, it's to put them wherever they want. Well, we've actually had farmers that say, I can't use my hay equipment because their lines are right overhead.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that they had a blanket easement over my whole parcel.
Yeah.
Here's another example. You buy a piece of property, and then suddenly some guy's out there on a Saturday morning cutting down your trees, building a road. And the new buyer says, why is this guy on my property cutting my trees? Well, there's an easement there. Well, you never knew it.
Yeah.
Or the easement says, in the public record, the easement says, it's on the old logging road. And you go out and you look and you see 5, 6, 7 roads. You're like, well, which road is it?
Yeah.
So there are questions that buyers need to be asking sellers, and that sellers need to be prepared to answer with regards to the documents in the public record. And sometimes we actually run into situations where there's an old mortgage, there's been family transfers, friends, maybe no realtors involved for a couple decades.
Yeah.
And that parcel is unsellable. You can't sell it.
Yeah.
It needs a quiet title action. So that's going to be a red light. We're going to say, look, there's some work that needs to be done.
So a green light is saying, in essence, there's an incredibly low likelihood that there would be any problem in closing this transaction, given the documents we have.
That's right.
It's not a guarantee necessarily. It's saying this should go smoothly, nothing to worry about. And then a yellow light, what does that mean? You're advising the client you should have further review, or
a yellow light means there are some things in the public record that you want to clean up, but they shouldn't prevent you from closing escrow. But here's what you need to know. Here's what is in your future if you complete this transaction. The things you're going to have to address. The green light is go ahead and close escrow. You're looking pretty good. Here's what you have. Here's what we see. Here are the questions you want to ask.
Got it. Yeah.
You know, you're investing hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Twice or 3 times, maybe 4 in a lifetime.
Yeah.
It's prudent to plan ahead and see what you're buying.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt, think about it. If I want to sell you a car, you're going to say, well, Art, I need to take it to my mechanic so he can check it out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true.
And you're going to spend a couple $100 to get the car vetted so that you don't get home and find major issues in 3 months. Mm-hmm. It's the same with real estate. Now, some of these timely contract services are flat rate. Mm-hmm. Some of them we need an hourly rate because there's a little more work to be done. But
But comparatively to the back end work,
oh, forget it. I mean, you'll spend.
It's a 1/100th of the cost. Yeah.
It's quite a bit cheaper.
Yeah.
It's quite a bit cheaper. And the thing is, it's fast. And we can't provide guarantees, but we can, help you pick your head up out of the busy process of moving and say, okay, what's actually going on here?
So I could see, from an agent's perspective, say you're watching this, and if you're working with a client base of, say, properties of above a certain value, let's say, or acreage involved, it could be a huge value add service to bring to your clients. In other words, to say this, when you're working with me or my team,
well, if I'm an agent, I can't. If I'm an agent, I can't give a legal opinion.
Exactly.
If my client says, "Well, what is this easement? What is an easement? What does this mean?"
Yeah.
The agent can, kind of give maybe a ballpark. Well, an easement is this.
Often this may mean this or something. Yeah.
But they don't know.
Yeah.
And they can't tell you. And so, where the agent's expertise stops.
Yeah.
is where our expertise begins.
Yeah.
So for an agent to leverage our expertise in a manner that helps that escrow move forward and gives the client somebody to talk to. You know, what does this mean? What does this mean for me?
Or peace of mind and trust. An out-of-state buyer, they're going to go with an agent that's got that full scope of... People
move, and if a lot of buyers in the Pacific Northwest buy for cash, well, there's no lender involved to go look over those details.
I was just going to say that. It reminds me of the example of a cash buyer that will deliberately take out a mortgage just so they have the bank pay attention to the build and the property. I could see how this service would be similar in that if you're an out-of-state buyer, it would bring peace of mind to know that this is being looked over.
And that's what I thought about. The timely contract services are so cool, because when I did my due diligence, I said, well, this is just like a shopping cart. I mean, you can just upload it, you can just do it. And so, you know, like, you have a physical inspection on your home, and that's good, but how do you inspect the documents that are in the public record? You need a legal opinion to do that.
Yeah.
And you're bound by those. If you don't read them, you know, the law assumes you not only know they're there, but that you understand the legal effect of them on you when you buy.
So this actually protects an agent as well. I mean,
holy cow. I mean, and you don't want to find out about, you know, some people say, well, we're moving into a subdivision, they have CC&Rs and it's 68 pages. What does this mean to me?
Yeah.
And so we can review those and we can say, look, this is what we see. This is how this organization should be handling how this works in your jurisdiction. We did an evaluation in Washington the other day, and the client had no idea that this was going to affect them. They just moved out of the big city. They thought, well, I'm moving to the country. And nope, they got some CC&Rs, they have an association, and you know, it doesn't mean that they're not going to close escrow. It means they're going to go into close with their eyes open. That's the smart way to buy.
It's not going to, or you could potentially save a deal, though, on the back end.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, it's not functional for a realtor to call us 2 days before close and say, geez, Art, we got this problem on close. There's this document in the public record, and nobody knows how to handle it. And I look at my watch, and I'm like, well, I got...
I'm scheduled until...
all these other people. It's just not functional. So if you're a realtor and you get us involved on the front end, and you say, look at timelycontract.com and see if there's any help you think it'll bring you, then they can back off and let us handle that part of the process, and we can slipstream into the schedule of the contract and actually help it close in a timely way. That's why they called it timely contract, because you know it's actually functional on the ground. It's not some theoretical thing. It's like we're actually doing it.
Yeah, it's well named, timely. Yeah. That's great. Well, is there any what would you say would be, because this is a new to the marketplace, to the real estate marketplace, this is a new concept, right? So is there anything else, another angle you'd want to communicate so that the viewer would have a better understanding? I mean, obviously check out timelycontract.com, but just another, like the value on the front end, you're avoiding problems on the front end, legally speaking. Like, is there anything else that comes to mind you'd want to communicate?
I think it's really important to understand that this is such a smooth process from a standpoint of, you go online, you book it, you can upload documents, you can talk to the attorney, the fee agreement's all online, you pay online, everything's, like I say, it's like a shopping cart.
Yeah.
And we've taken the legal service, you know, out of the leather chairs and cigars, you know, the big, where it's just a swamp. You don't know what you're getting into. No, we've said, this is what you're getting, this is when you get it, this is how much it costs, and boom, you're in and out. That's the most important thing. It's something that ordinary people now can relate to, the function that lawyers are actually supposed to be doing. In a way that makes sense.
It's communicated clearly and intelligently, and so it's not it's not a complex thing to process through. It's pretty seamless. And
no, it's very simple. And the letters that come out with the green light system, we identify on a document by document, but you may have a string of green light documents, but then this one over here is where the yellow is. And why does it have a yellow?
And
we'll tell you why,
yeah.
and we'll tell you what questions to ask, and we'll tell you this is some of the dangers from having a document like this.
Yeah.
And these are some of the steps you might like to address to fix it.
To gain clarity or yeah,
but
whatever.
like I say, if it's a yellow, you can probably close escrow, but really it's dependent on what the client is looking for.
And their comfort level with that information.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, thank you for doing this with us today. Yeah, I appreciate it. So this is Art Macomber, Macomber Law. His office is right there on Northwest Boulevard near all the real estate brokerages in town. A lot of agents work with them for the back end problems that can come up with real estate transactions. So it was great to be able to interview you today about timely contract and kind of spread the word about these front end reviews you can have done to avoid these problems and bring value to your clients, peace of mind as a buyer if you happen to be just looking at properties yourself. So thanks for doing this.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Matt.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Take care, you guys.